this is Harriet Grayson, your host and producer for Community Culture Showcase. And as always, what I love to do is to bring you closer to some of the creative minds in the neighborhood. And my guests today are two people associated with a group that I myself have enjoyed for more than a decade, the Granite Theater in downtown Westerly. And everyone should get themselves down to Westerly to see all the wonderful things that have happened in the last few years. If you haven't been to downtown Westerly, you have no idea about the things that have changed. Well, the Granite Theater has been there for a long time, but we've got some new blood, new creativity, and some interesting changes that have happened. And I think you're going to enjoy what they're planning, and I think you'll enjoy meeting the people behind that kind of creation. So with me is Dina, who is the president of Granite Theater, and Nicole, who is the new artistic director. And these two people have put their minds together and have created some really wonderful theater for our community. So if you live out there in southeastern Connecticut, please make it your business to get to the Granite. Believe me, downtown Westerly is a really cool place to go. You want a drink, you want a meal, you want theater, you want to be entertained, it's there. It's there, right there. So let me start with Dina. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got connected to the Granite Theater.
Sure. Well, hello, everyone, and thank you very much, Harriet, for having me here. The Granite Theater has been in my life probably for about as long as it's been in your life. I got involved with actually just going to shows and enjoying them immensely with a friend of mine. And then one day I saw an ad in the newspaper for an extra, and I was involved in the Man of La Mancha, and the rest is history.
Oh, that is fantastic.
Yes, lots of fun. You meet a lot of people. It can be challenging at times, but I think that the theater is a wonderful place to get away.
So tell me, how does one become the president of a community theater, and how do you do you have influence in terms of what actually goes on artistically and I would assume financially? So tell us about what it's like to be the president of the Granite Theater.
Of course. I'll explain that all to you. When I got involved about 2 years ago, a bunch of my friends from the theater approached me and asked me if I would be interested in being on the board. Now, as you know, the board it's a voluntary position. You do spend a lot of time making very big decisions about the behind-the-scenes things that happen at the theater. I currently am unemployed, and I've been unemployed for a while. Thank you for my boyfriend who supports me. So I do have a lot of time on my hands. So if you are considering getting involved with a board, especially for a nonprofit, you need to have a lot of time on your hands. As you know, the board makes the decisions for the financial purposes of the building, and yes, we do make the decision on who becomes our next artistic director. So yes, that's exactly what the board members do.
Okay, all right. So now, Nicole, you are the current artistic director. The current season has actually been already preordained from a previous director. So tell us about yourself, how you got here, because you're not a native of Westerly. So what got you to the Granite Theater?
Yeah, let's see. I lived in New York City for the good part of 20 years, and I started as an actor, and then quickly decided I really liked to be in charge. So I started choreographing and directing, and then got into writing and producing. And by the time I found my niche in the theater world, I was producing 4 off-Broadway shows and 1 North American tour, and like really hands-on creative producing as well. And then COVID hit, and all 5 shows closed, and my business partner, my producing partner, him and his wife moved to Mystic. So I was still in New York as my husband was finishing grad school, but we came to visit, and we laughed because we never knew where we wanted to end up if we were to leave New York, but we found that we hated leaving Anthony and Kelly. Like, we just hated leaving this area, and we were like, oh, that might mean we want to be here. So they actually told us to check out Westerly, and we were producing an arts festival, a performing arts stage at the Mystic Outdoor Arts Festival, and they were like, just, go spend a day in Westerly. And we drove in and parked at the beautiful library. Mm-hmm. I look up and I see the Granite Theater on the hill. I walk into the park, and the Colonial Theater is doing Shakespeare in the Park. I see the United Theater. Then I find out about the chorus of Westerly, and I was like, where am I? This amazing New England gem. So we decided that our path forward would be to, when we decided to leave New York, it would be this area. And so I started looking for jobs in January, or just theaters to reach out to essentially say, hi, this is me, I am coming. And if you're looking for a director, or, I just want to get involved. And I looked on the Granite's website, and they were looking for an artistic director. So it was really kismet for me. And, I luckily, having Anthony and Kelly here, I was able to stay with them and interview in person, which I thought was really important. And then, I started at the end of January and commuted until we moved up here at the end of April.
Great.
Yeah.
Great story. So let me ask you this. So what got you to create this season? What goes in, not only specifically the different actual shows, but like when you were just thinking about what kind of shows you wanted, what goes into your head? I'm always interested because I am artistic. I mean, I'm a writer. So I'm always interested in the process that we go through to get to where we are. So I know some of the process I go through as a writer, and I'm curious as an artistic director, what goes through your mind in terms of bringing shows to the public?
Yeah. So obviously, having done theater for my entire career, I have a lot of shows in my head, right? A lot of shows that I love, that I know other people will love. But when I was thinking futuristically, I thought, well, if I did my 7 favorite shows this coming year, then I would do my next 7 favorite shows, and then my next 7 favorite, and that's not really a way to create a season. So I started thinking of shows that would work well for the theater, and what I have seen this year, talking to audience members, seeing how the different shows sell, what they like, and then also from a casting perspective, the type of talent I've seen come in, where I could see these same people, if they came out next year, fit into shows. And also, you'll notice if you look at our shows, there's a small cast, a big cast, a small cast, a big cast. And I knew that I can't do 2 big casts, right, back to back, or else I'm draining the talent that at least I've seen this year, which has been spectacular, but it's not a giant pool of people, because doing a show requires a lot of your time. And they do receive a stipend, but it is mostly a volunteer position. So people are doing this because they love it. So that was all part of it. And so when I started picking shows that I might like to see in this season, I started to see a theme, and it was telling stories. And I know that can be a pretty broad theme, but as someone new to the area, I've been always approached by people just wanting to tell me their story about the Granite Theater, or their story of how they came to Westerly, or how they've been born and raised, and their grandparents and grandparents and grandparents have been born and raised here. And so many people have stories to tell here that I thought this would be an amazing theme for this upcoming year, and I could invite people to not only tell their stories in the shows, but before the shows, and other events throughout the year can all be about the telling stories, and I can get to know people in the neighborhood, and other people can get to know people better, and I thought this would be just a lot of fun. So all 7 shows next year do have an element of telling stories, whether it is the main character breaking the 4th wall, or one of the characters is a mystery writer, or is he telling stories, that kind of thing. So I thought that was really cool, and I had to do some research. There were 2 3 shows, actually 3 of the 7 shows I had never done or seen before. So that was fun.
Do you get input from other people in terms of the choices that you make in terms of the
Yeah, so the other thing I did is directors that either directed in 2023 that I asked if they would like to direct again, or directors that, told me that they were interested in directing. I asked them if they had a list, right, of shows that they would love to direct. And some of them I was able to find from their list, and some I was like, no, this isn't going to work, but how about this one? Like, it seems like it might be on your path. And so that worked.
I have found, since I've been a long time viewer, of course, of the Granite Theater, that the last 2 seasons, the quality of the acting staff has, in my eyes, as a theater goer, dramatically improved. And I'm thinking, is it because the word has gotten out among the acting community that the Granite Theater is a different Granite Theater than the one you probably might have heard of? And therefore, I'm willing to get in the car and drive a couple of hours and do this work. Or it might be, then it becomes my showpiece for something grander that I want to do in Boston or New York. Do you think there's some of that involved?
I do, and again, I'm new, so everything that I hear is hearsay, right? But I have been told that people saw the Granite Theater pre-COVID as more of a club, so that you had to kind of be invited into the club in order to take part in the shows. Not that that was necessarily true, right? It's just that that's the way people felt.
That's the image, and an image is hard to break.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if it was COVID. I don't know if it was just a transition, but I don't think that's the case anymore. We're getting an amazing amount of new people that have never worked at the Granite, never been to the Granite, right? Like the amount of people that even just auditioned for Miracle on 34th Street that had never stepped foot in the building was really exciting to me. And then also some that had been, doing shows or had done shows 10 years ago and then were coming back. So it's a cool, mix of people. But yeah, the talent, I was shocked by. I absolutely was shocked, especially the singers. The singers in this area are spectacular. So that was really exciting for me.
Well, the chorus of Westerly becomes a training ground for good voices. They've been around forever and ever, and they literally go around the world to sing. So I don't see that as their credit. Oftentimes when I read the playbill. But I would imagine that some of that is catching fire.
I would hope so, and I love that collaboration would be available. The only thing I will say I'm missing are dancers. So dancers out there, come to the Granite Theater because I really want to do dancing shows.
She must have been your choreographer in your other life, right? Exactly.
I had an amazing dancer in Guys and Dolls, and she's on the front of our pamphlet for next year. But I had to use her a lot.
As far as I know, there's no close dance company at all here. However, the Solmarsh Opera, I'll give them a plug, oftentimes opera has part of it is choreography.
Right, yeah.
So go talk to Simon Holt from the Solmarsh Opera, and maybe he has the names of some dancers that... Because I know the people are definitely not coming from the neighborhood. They are the people who are in the opera company performing here in town are from a much wider spectrum. So if they want to come to the opera, maybe they also want to come to the theater. So
that was one of my things when I was approached to be on the board. I had an open mind about being different. I wanted to have people who were afraid to step into the theater to step into the theater. And I think that made a huge difference with the people that are actually coming in from New York City or coming in. Last year we had a couple of girls that came in from Brooklyn, and granted that they had family that lived here and they were all for the summer, but we still had people that came in from the city. And that was one of the things that I was not going to change my mind about. I wanted to have new people come into the theater. I wanted to have a new, fresh face for our artistic director, and I wanted it to be fun. And I think that we've kind of done all that. So.
And I think one of the other things in the last 2 years has been the scope of the season in terms of there's something for the kids, but there are some things very much only for adults.
Yes.
The show that we just saw, The Elephant Man, was clearly a show completely only for adults.
We were a little worried about that show because we were worried that the patrons were not going to be okay with it. But I feel as though they've embraced it and they've realized that it's a story that can be told from the past, and we've lived it and we are better for it for knowing the story.
I think part of it, and I'm not your marketing manager, but one of the other things about getting people into the theater is just by more promotions, even outside the frame of reference that you might actually have picked. I mean, people can get in their cars and go places. I mean,
that's right.
we kid living in Westerly that you can't
far.
possibly go to Providence. It's too
too
far. But in fact, you can get an audience, and you can get talent that might.
Right, even from one end of Rhode Island to the other end of Rhode Island. We have some patrons that come in and they say, I live in Cumberland. And I'm like, you do? And they're like, yeah, we came all the way from Cumberland. It's only about a 40-minute drive.
Buying a season tickets
Yes.
is something that I think would be, that's the reason we go. We go every single day. Sometimes we thought, well, maybe we really don't want to see this show, but we own season tickets, so we have to go to every show or give it away to somebody that we love and dear.
Right.
And something
And
like that.
you do get a discount. You get 10% off, and you do get different perks for being a season ticket holder. And because we realize that when you pick your shows all at once, we give you that option if you can't make it all of a sudden in November, that you have options to change it, and we do not charge you the fees that the ticketing company charges us.
Right.
So there are definitely perks to becoming a season ticket holder. You
Wonderful.
do get 10% off, and we do also have a half a season. So if you don't want to, say you're going to be here, I'm a snowbird, and I'm not here during a certain time of year, I would like to buy only 4 season shows. We do have that option also.
That's a new option.
Yes,
isn't it?
that's a new option. We started it last year and we've continued it this year
Yep.
because we found that a lot of the patrons were asking us for that option. So we decided to go with it. And it
That's
was
great.
very successful last year, so we decided to do it again this year.
Very nice.
Yes.
Very nice. So let's talk about the particular shows that you've got. So the first one is a little bit of show. Title. I got to get this closer. I got cataract surgery and I got new eyeballs, but you know what? They don't work so well. Title of show. Now, that's the title.
That's the title.
That's cute.
Yes.
Tell us about this particular one.
Yeah, this show is one of my absolute favorites. I have choreographed it. I've been in it, so it is a show that's near and dear to my heart. But it is a musical about making a musical. And so it's extremely meta, where you follow these characters as they write their show to get into a festival. Oh, they got into the festival, so you watch the festival. Oh, they're going off Broadway, so you watch them off Broadway, and then they eventually do make it to Broadway, which is what happened in their real lives. So when title of show went to NYMF, which was this festival that they're trying to get to, it was 4 songs and a 20-minute book. But then they just kept adding to it. And you really see that in the script, which is so fun. And for this one, I think it appeals to everyone. It is, I would say, an adult show. It does have some language.
Okay.
But I think this one would bring in a younger audience. And by younger, I mean college age. And that's kind of where I wanted to start with, because I just want more people to be at the theater. And I'm hoping that if they see that we're bringing this show then they might be interested in staying and seeing the rest of the season, which is beautiful. And, just get people back into live theater.
We are surrounded by colleges. We have Mitchell
know.
College, Connecticut College, University of Connecticut. RI is right here. University of URI is right here. So, I don't know how. Again, I'm not a marketing director. I don't know how you promote that, but yeah, there's plenty of schools around here for that purpose. And they have, as far as I know, they have at least at Conn College a big arts.
URI too.
Yeah.
URI. So I
Yes.
mean, if you reached out to some of their theater directors or whatever, there might be some interest. I do work for some other charitable organization, and we often use the URI basketball games as a way of promoting this other nonprofit.
Cool.
So
That's smart.
and kids, I call them kids because they're like my grandchildren. They don't mind actually just giving money right then and there at the basketball game, and then they might then follow up and do some other kinds of activities. So that seems to be very popular. Lots of people like URI. I don't know about so much the football, but the basketball goes into the winter time, and people have nothing better to do, so they go to a basketball game. Anyway, just a comment about this
that's great. Thank you.
This kind of show might attract that kind of audience.
Yeah, and the whole show is about creating. So if you've ever created anything, you do understand the heart of this show. It talks about, the demons that get at you and tell you you're not good enough, and then when you tell yourself you're not good enough, there's that beautiful aspect that everyone has experienced, and they just put it out there. So it's so funny, definitely make you laugh, but also make you cry. And it's called Title of Show because they didn't know what to call it. And the form, they have a song called Filling Out the Form, and it asks for Title of Show. And so they just say, okay.
Title of show.
That's it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
But
right.
it does confuse people. I did have someone
definitely.
ask me what show they were getting.
And you will be directing this show.
I am directing this show.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
So that's
All right.
important to know.
Yes,
Come
absolutely.
hang out with me.
Yes, exactly. Part of being the artistic director allows you then to be the director of the shows.
Yeah. I
definitely.
know, and it's tough because, I get to have a hand in every show as everything has to pass my artistic
Vision.
Right.
check mark there.
Right. Filling the form out, right?
Yep, filling out the form, yes. But I do, I can only do some of them. Yeah, I can't do all. But it's great. I love collaboration. That's my absolute favorite part of theater. I don't think anyone can do it on their own.
And we've had so many people
I know.
come to us and say, do you have a position for directing? Because a lot of people all of a sudden want to come and direct at the Granite Theater for some reason.
Oh, well, it isn't for some reason. I mean, there is a reason for it, believe me.
Well, I think we've really put our name on the map now as being that theater where you're going to get recognition and you're going to have a choice.
And you're going to have support.
Right, support and a choice.
I do really think
right.
learning about a lot of the theaters in the area, we really try to offer as much as possible so that the director really just has to direct.
That's right.
Which is,
Yes, great.
I mean, our last year was over an hour away, one of our directors.
yeah.
And he still wanted it. Actually, two. Bill and Brad. Both of them
Oh,
were
right.
over an
Yeah,
hour
yeah.
away.
And then even our Elephant Man, it lives in East Boston, and he asked me about directing next year.
Oh my
that
goodness,
just
see?
makes me.
You just gave me chills because he's a really amazing kid. So
That's great. So now, the next one is Our Town.
Yeah.
Now, that's a famous.
Oh,
famous,
yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
yes. Yes. Tell the few people out there who may not know the plot line for Our Town.
So Our Town is very much telling a story. The narrator is called the stage manager, and he is essentially setting up the play. So the play starts with a blank stage, and then as there are 3 acts in the show, and the set gets built during the course of the play, and it is birth, life, and death, right? So it is the three stages of life it shows, and marriage. But it is beautiful, and it has the most famous, I think, death scene in all of theatrical history. I would put money on that. But it's such a great show. It takes place in New England, specifically New Hampshire. But in talking to the director, we really want to focus on Westerly for this and add little Easter eggs and just really, really put our town out there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when we're getting in under the wire because they just announced last week that Our Town's coming to Broadway in the fall. So.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Obviously, people have good ideas like me.
Yes, it's a shared thing.
We'll be done
It's
before they start.
The brain waves,
Yeah.
the brain waves, right? Yes, the brain waves, exactly. Well, that's a great one.
Yeah.
And then we have one for the kiddos.
Yes. So Seussical Jr. And this is the Cat in the Hat telling you Dr. Seuss stories, right? Mm-hmm. So totally fits with the telling stories theme. The kid show last year was so wonderful, Lion King Jr. And I'm really excited, again, seeing the kinds of kids that I know will come out. There are some great roles in the show. And I was hoping also to invite kids that might not necessarily be in the show, one each show to read a Dr. Seuss book before the show. Right, so just getting more kids in the theater. That's
exactly
a goal of mine.
Yes.
And on that topic, actually, we are also going to be doing a Theater for Young Audiences show. We're doing Rumpelstiltskin. So that'll be for the babies, right? The 3 to 8 year olds, I have a 1 and 3 year old, so I'm always looking for something to do with them on a Saturday morning. So in April, I believe, we'll have a few Saturdays of this show.
And you'll do it in the daytime, and then you have the other show at night?
Yeah, so it'll actually be in the lobby.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, so it'll be a really intimate 20, 25-minute show.
A lot of the parents reached out
$15 a
to
family,
us and asked us for this, right? A lot of
Yeah,
the parents. They were interested
in particular one, or
for having the Rumpelstiltskin, because some children are between the ages of like 1 and.
So we just started a youth program, and I definitely had interest from 5-year-olds, right? And that's a little young to mix with the 15-year-olds that are also in this, but this at least is something that they can come see. And I brought my 3-year-old to Lion King last year. She loved it, but we had to leave and come back. So this is the kind of show that will be perfect for the babies.
Okay, that's great.
So
and how did you come to pick that particular one versus?
So actually, the director of Boys Next Door, Allie Altman, she wrote it, and she presented it to me, and it's adorable. I love it. And so we're going to do it.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. There's plenty of little nursery schools and stuff like that. And even the libraries all have programs for young people, like really little young people, to get them thinking about having parents, of course, read to them and that kind of stuff.
And that this gets them started, too.
Yeah.
So if they start at 3, 4, 5, when they're 9, 10, they can actually do a show with us.
Yeah. So. And it's extremely interactive. There's singing, there's puppets, It's everything. Everything that a 3-year-old wants.
That's right. And then we have another one. The next one, is this a comedy? Drowsy Chaperone?
Yes.
That's a comedy.
Drowsy Chaperone, a comedy. Oh my gosh. It is the one show I saw on Broadway where I literally slapped my knee. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. Yes. So the Drowsy Chaperone is
Our summer event.
That's our big summer show. We're actually running that for 4 weekends.
Okay.
So come one, come all.
Right, so the entire July, into mid-July, into the beginning of August.
Exactly.
Okay.
It is the man in chair, which is the lead character's name. He comes out, he sees the audience, he says, "Oh, hello," and he sits down. and he proceeds to tell them the story of his favorite musical, The Drowsy Chaperone. He puts on the record, and it plays, and the stage comes to life behind him. It is so funny, because he stops the show to tell you little bits of humor about each of the characters and their personal lives. There's a moment where the record skips, right? And while they're dancing, and then the actors are on stage, doing this. It is, personally, I think it's brilliant. It's so fun. And honestly, when we made the announcement that we were doing it, we got a huge cheer from the lobby. So I know that people are excited about it.
Yeah.
It's a favorite for everyone so far.
Oh, yeah?
Everyone wants to is looking forward to that one.
And for my dancers in the audience, there are some tap dancing men in this one. So
You need boys and girls.
yes.
Yes. You made a decision also that the summer event would be longer than because before it was sort of cut in pieces the summertime.
Right. So, and I did that very specifically because of ticket sales.
It's
Guys
our
and
busiest
Dolls,
time of year.
Guys and Dolls sold out. And I had said, if we had one more weekend of Guys and Dolls, I do think we would have had an audience. But then Boys Next Door, where it landed, was this end of August, where I personally felt like everyone was trying to get their last bit of summer vacation in, and it didn't sell as well. So that's why I went ahead and made that decision with the board's approval,
Right.
that Drowsy Chaperone would run 4 weekends. Also, the licensing costs of musicals is really up there. So to try to make some of that money back.
Right. No. Yeah. I hear you. Because I do not theater, but I'm involved in film festivals and through the United Theater. Once upon a time, we actually did it with the Granite. We had this discussion before as a venue, and we also look for the film that's going to strike during the summer months, because we know there are our population triples.
Yes. A lot of people are traveling and
They're
visiting.
here, and if they just they're looking for some entertainment. So now we go to the movie and then go to the show, and don't forget to eat out along the many restaurants and bars that are in the middle of town.
And we have Mystic right down the street.
Yeah. You know why people don't want to go to Mystic? Because
Why?
of the traffic.
Right. So just
And there's no free parking.
Drive through and head over to Westerly.
Yeah. Westerly has free parking.
Yes.
We have a beautiful free garage, and then a whole other parking lot by the train station.
Yes.
I love this so much.
Yes.
Never have a problem.
And of course, the parking lot, which is on Canal, was built on a piece of property that was rained out, flooded out, and as my understanding is, the town sold it to the federal government,
Right.
and so nothing could ever be built. But it took Chuck Royce to take the dirt and make it into asphalt and make it a really legitimate parking lot,
Which is nice.
which is brilliant.
Right.
Because that helps the education center right up the
course.
hill. It helps all the businesses that are in and around town. So yes, because that's always been a complaint. There's no parking downtown in Westerly. Well,
Now there is.
There is parking now. So there's absolutely
And the restaurants are
no screen.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have Wilcox Park right at your finger.
Yes.
And we have so many patrons that come in early and say, we're going to take a stroll through the park. We'll be back in about 20 minutes. And it's lovely. It's
Oh, yes.
absolutely beautiful.
Absolutely. And of course we do there's a number of productions that are done in the park
Right.
during the
Absolutely.
summertime.
Hocus
so
Pocus was just
summertime
there.
is I would think with the dollar signs. Yeah, that's the time to cash in on the stuff. So that's great. And
I come
so
from producing in New York, so I'm always looking
Yeah.
for ways to...
so let's see. This is a little harder for me to read, but Harvey is the next one. That's another comedy.
Yes, it is. So Harvey, I feel like a lot of people are familiar with Harvey. I keep getting told that it's a favorite.
Well, I think people associate it with the movie rather than actually having
Right,
seen
and
the
that
theater.
that
That's
absolutely
fine,
makes
that's
sense.
fine,
Yes, great. You saw the movie, come see it on stage.
Right. See it live.
Yeah,
Exactly so.
But it's a great comedy. It's farcical. I love farces. For those of you that don't know the show, the one character has an imaginary friend who's actually a puka, which is a spirit animal guide. But his wealthy family is embarrassed by him, so they try to get him committed to an asylum. And while his sister is explaining that she would like to commit her brother, she admits that she maybe has seen this bunny as well. So they commit her instead. And then it's just chasing the brother and chasing the bunny. And then at the end, everyone starts seeing the bunny. It's hilarity ensues.
And you really need some good costume designer, I would imagine.
For the bunny.
Yes, absolutely.
We have a lot of interest in that one already.
Yeah,
A lot of people
which
are
is
already
good.
saying, I want to be in Harvey. I want to be in Harvey.
Okay.
And that's one of the big casts. So
Okay,
that's
all
good,
right,
yeah.
very good. So people, if you're interested, that's interesting, because how do people who want to audition even know where to contact you?
Yeah. So we do have an entire page on our website dedicated to auditions.
Okay.
And we also have a mailing list that is specifically for auditions. So if you are interested, please go on our website, go under how to support, how to get involved. It's that tab, and just scroll down a little bit, and you can get on the audition.
It's www.Granite Theater, and theater is TRE.org.
Yes. Thank you.
So people can remember that. Good. Good.
Yeah. So we send out to our mailing list, as well as post on our social media and Rhode Island social media, Southeast Connecticut social media, all these theater.
We've been very successful with that. You know, advertising on Broadway,
on the internet,
different channels
yeah.
through the internet. We've actually gotten a lot of people auditioning from them.
Yeah.
So
Oh, people know how to follow. Yeah.
the different leads for auditions all around
Right,
their,
I'm
their
sure there's,
communities.
Yeah, and they're not coming to us because they're looking for money. They're coming to get the credit,
That's
right.
so that they can, build the credits up there. So one day, maybe you will see them
On Broadway.
and they can say, "I got my star at the Granite Theater in Westerly, Rhode Island." Yes, indeed.
Yeah, you just gave me chills because that does happen.
Well, I hope it happens a lot more. Yeah, definitely. So we got the next one, which is Sleuth. Now, everybody may not have seen the play, but again, the same idea. People have seen the movie.
People have seen the movie. What
Yes.
I love about this is that the two main guys, Michael Caine played the younger one in the 70s, and then when they remade the movie in the early 2000s, he played the older one. So I'm like, if Michael Caine likes this show,
And
I
it's
like
the
this
perfect time
show.
of year. It's
It
the
is.
Halloween season.
Because I was looking for a murder mystery thriller for this chunk of time, and I'll be honest, it wasn't my first choice. I did have another one that worked really well with my theme, but we were denied the rights. I'm not quite sure why. There might be a tour coming through. We'll see. But the main character here is a murder mystery writer, and then creates a story
Right.
that he ends up.
Goes with the Halloween.
Just seeing that picture makes me want to watch
I know, right?
Yeah.
Especially
definitely.
at Halloween. Yes.
Yes, definitely. And we end with something I never heard of, but must be a hoot. 1940s radio Christmas Carol. That
Yes.
seems pretty interesting.
What do you think about us doing that, Harriet, by switching things up and not doing Christmas Carol every year? Do you like that?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because I have different people's,
Yeah.
So definitely, I've heard. I had someone at Junk and Java ask me what we were doing for Christmas this year. I said Miracle on 34th Street, and she said, "Oh, thank God you're not doing Christmas Carol. I am coming."
See?
And then I've had other people be like, "So why not Christmas Carol?
Right, that's
why
right,
are
that's
you
what
ruining
I've
a
heard.
tradition?" So that's where this one came along,
Right,
Because
right.
it is.
well,
you
you
get- if you
already
want-
have some sense of who's coming to the Miracle on 34th Street.
We are almost sold out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So,
So
We
you
are
know that
almost
there's
sold
an
out.
interest in something other than.
there is an interest in Christmas.
The Christmas story, the conventional one, the kids are doing in middle school.
That's right.
Right.
So the parents and grandparents can come in and clap. So, yeah, it is.
Okay.
And this one I actually never heard of. So that to me makes it even more fascinating.
Yeah, this one is really beautiful, and I didn't know what because I was unfamiliar with it. I was looking for I love radio plays, and so I was looking at radio plays, and this is not necessarily a radio play, right?
This is not Orson Welles. We're not going to go off and look for aliens. Because it's this time of year,
right?
I believe it happens.
But it does take place in a radio studio. So there's a Foley artist, which is really cool. But they are retelling the story of A Christmas Carol. But the man playing Scrooge has never been on the radio. He's a stage actor, so he does costume changes and and very funny things like that. But it takes place during World War II.
Okay.
And they touch on that a lot. And one of the characters is being going off to basic training the next day. There's a lot of that. And it definitely, when I read it, I was crying, which I was not expecting because it is very funny.
I know, she called me and told me
otherwise.
that. She goes, we have to do this. It made me cry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of twisting it up a little bit, but still keeping it within the tradition,
Yeah.
which I think people will appreciate that.
Yeah.
And on that note, as you know, I would like to invite people to tell their stories at the theater before the shows. For this one, I wanted to invite veterans.
Oh, how
Yeah.
very cool.
And I'm hoping we can do some sort of veteran discount, veteran something, you know.
It's funny you say that because my latest book,
Yeah.
is actually about my father's service in World War II.
Oh, you just gave me chills.
In the China-Burma-India Theater, which nobody ever heard of.
So
I'd be happy to come.
I was going to
and
say,
tell
can you tell a story?
I tell you, yeah, and it's he enlisted in the Army Air Corps, and he thought first he was in Tunisia, and then he was in South Africa, and then he lands up in India. And my father grew up in a completely segregated world of Baltimore. Didn't go to school with anybody that didn't look like him.
Right.
Wow.
The religious things, everything, he lived in a white world. And here he is
We
in
would love
India.
you to come and talk about that.
In India, and my God, he's depending upon people that there are no Nazis in India.
Right.
He's got Japanese, he's supposed to be helping the British Indian Army bring supplies across the Himalayas, across Burma. Again,
Wow, yeah.
brown-skinned people, nothing he's ever seen, to China to provide them supplies because that parts of China have been overtaken by the Japanese.
That's pretty amazing.
So yeah, so his.
I think we should collaborate with the vets and have maybe a couple of the shows during the day and have them come in, like we did with the Diary of Anne Frank for the
that's
children.
actually something we can
And
look
I
at as
think
well.
that it would definitely be a positive thing to do.
Yeah, I mean they're all dead now. I don't think there's
Not World War
there's
II, right, yeah,
nobody left. But his story is interesting because it's
Yeah.
a part of the history that people think they know about, but they
Mm-hmm.
really have no idea. And for him it was a dual role. One, he's doing his service, but two, it's put him into a position where he's never been in his life.
Wow.
In terms of the people the men he's working with don't look anything like what he expected.
Right.
And even though he'd been to Tunisia and South Africa, it was really short. And here he lands up for the next from 42 to when the wars ended in 45.
So maybe it would be a telling story for some young children who have never, don't
Yeah,
even know the
absolutely.
stories of this because it happened so long ago.
Yeah.
And the thing they might find interesting, he's called the Horseman from Baltimore because the saviors of this bringing food and armaments and everything to China were pack mules.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. That's amazing.
And there's some funny stuff about how he landed up with pack mules. But yeah, so it's based on this true story about a point of that you just said it. Nobody knows anything about.
Yeah.
And
Kids
nobody
don't know
anything about World War.
I saw the reaction during Diary of Anne Frank where they were just crying because they didn't know this actually existed and this was a true story.
Yes, yes.
We need to teach our children,
Yeah.
and to offer a couple of free shows during the day to have the school buses come in. I think we should do that again.
Very good.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good idea. The 40s were certainly an incredible time.
Yes.
And we were saved, actually, by the men and women who,
Both
put
of
on
my parents were
uniforms.
born in the 40s.
put on uniforms and, went out to save the world.
Yes.
Is what they were. Americans were very idealistic to save the world. The
Yes.
other countries, maybe not so much, but yes, definitely. So that is a great group of stuff you've got here.
Thank you.
And again, if people are interested, they can go to the website, www.granitetheater. Remember, theater is TRE.org, and you can find out about auditions. You can find out about the season, and fundraisers that may be on the. Because we're going to talk about that next. I mean, this is creative people who are working in the nonprofit world. So it's a tough go, and so we need all the fundraising that we can possibly get. The studio is a nonprofit, so I do know. And I sit on the board of directors of the studio. So yes, I do know what a hard push it is. So tell us what the latest collaboration is in terms of your fundraising.
Yes, so we are doing a fundraiser at the Knickerbocker. We are very excited about that. My husband, Arthur Miliazza, is an internationally renowned boogie woogie and blues pianist. He tells a funny story in the show, which if you come, you will get to see, about how he learned from the last living link to the original boogie woogie players. And so, you know, he's just tremendous. I mean, if you've come to the Granite Theater before the show, he's been playing the last few months. He found us a free piano, and he's just been entertaining the audiences.
If
before
I
the
can
show.
advise anyone, go on YouTube and take a look at Arthur. He will blow your mind. When I first got introduced to him, and someone said, just look him up, I was not expecting to see what I saw. He is pretty amazing. And if you do want to get a chance to see him, please come to see one of our shows. He performs for about a half an hour before every show for us.
Oh, interesting.
Every
Okay.
show he
All
comes
right.
in.
Does he have a little basket so people can
Yes,
put
he
the
does.
dollars in?
Yes, he does. Yeah, we and it says support local
Live music.
Live
yeah.
music. You need to come and see him. He is the real deal, and he's fantastic and fabulous. And we are very lucky to have met him and Nicole. So, yeah, you can continue to talk about the
fundraiser. Yes. So,
Yeah.
and which is wonderful because he wanted to do this. I didn't ask him, but he was like, I want to do my show as a fundraiser for the Granite Theater. So he'll be doing about an hour plus of his show that he's done, again, all around the world. And then we'll do baskets and, we have some donations that we'll raffle off.
Okay. Okay.
We'll talk about the season. We'll ask
to purchase the tickets.
you can purchase season tickets at the fundraiser.
Oh, good.
But to purchase the actual tickets, you
Oh,
can
sorry.
go to the Knickerbocker. Is it under the United Theater?
So it's just
under Knickerbocker.
knickerbocker.com/events.
So the
Okay.
so the Knickerbocker is owned by the United Theater. Is that
Yes.
is that it?
They're sisters.
Okay.
I think I don't want to speak out of my knowledge,
Context.
but
Okay.
I do know that Tony Nunes, who is the artistic director at the United, is able to book shows at the Knickerbocker. But the Knickerbocker does have
Are
a
they going to
manager
have?
as well.
Are they going to have chairs for people to sit?
Yeah. So there'll
Well,
be the
because
tables.
that's been one of my complaints about going to the Knickerbockers. When they actually have shows, they have a few tables and everybody's expected to stand. And I'm too old to stand.
No.
No, I think
so
they're having
this,
food and all that, too.
Yeah, and you can purchase food and drinks. There'll be tables and yeah, because Arthur also does tell history as part of his show. It's not just playing. He gives context. So you can absolutely sit and you can get up and dance.
So
if you want.
this is the promotional manager for your husband. I mean, you couldn't ask for someone better, right?
I know him very well.
Yes, indeed. So
But tickets are only
At
$25, and the show starts at
4.
Yes,
I
we're
think
going
it's
to
a
open
Sunday.
doors at 4, and show will start at 4:30. But it's a perfect time if you don't want to be out late, and it's just a
Sure,
wonderful
sure.
Sunday afternoon.
Does your husband have a CD or something that he?
Yes, he has multiple
And a book.
CDs, and yes, he wrote a book that is published by Hal Leonard on how to play boogie woogie music.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
It's like
Well,
the top
I'm
selling
sure he's
book.
bringing his goodies to the.
Yeah, well, I'll tell him to bring his
Yes,
goodies.
definitely want to bring his goodies to the show, for sure. And people who want to come to the Knickerbocker, there is lots of parking.
Yes.
All along Railroad Avenue, and then if you want to walk just a little bit more, you can go to that nice new parking lot right down the street. And of course, there are people, you're not supposed to do this, people do it all the time, is to park in the Westerly train station's parking lot. So, because the Knickerbocker is literally across the street
Exactly.
from the train station. And once upon a time, it wasn't necessarily the Knickerbocker, but I can't remember what, I think it's probably from the course of Westerly. People used to come, take the train from Boston.
Wow.
And because the train station is literally downtown and there's a whole bunch of stuff. So there were people who would come from, I don't know about New York, but would come from Boston to see shows because it was simply easy and it was across the street from the
And it's
from the train
literally
station.
about an hour and 20 minutes from Boston on the train. It's not that far at all.
No. And of course, you beat all that terrible traffic
That's
if you're
right.
driving yourself, which is miserable, true and true. All right, so this is wonderful. I'm so glad you guys could come. So let's get a recap of the shows that you're going to have. And we'll have the flyer, and then we can see, so I don't have to go and, oh, there we go, so I don't have to look down on my lap. Tell us again, just briefly.
Okay, so we have title of show, which is a musical about writing a musical. We have Our Town, which is a straight play, beautiful, heartwarming, dramedy. Let's go with dramedy.
And if it's been around a long time, but it has lived well because it tells a story that touches the human heart.
That's
right.
Yes,
And so
everyone
that,
can relate.
you know, it's been around a long time, but you need to come because it touches you in a way that,
It's heartfelt.
yes, very few theatrical things can actually do for you. This is one of them.
Yeah, 100% agree. Seussical Jr., kids show, 8 to 18-year-olds singing Dr. Seuss.
But adults are welcome.
So sorry. 8 to 18-year-olds are in the play.
Oh, okay.
In the play.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
please come see the kiddies. They need your support.
Yes,
They need
exactly. And so your performers are 8 to 18.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And you're doing
Yeah.
that one too.
And I am directing that one as
Yeah,
well.
you're going to direct that one.
Yeah.
Okay. So we
I-
want the bring the kids to the theater, introduce them to theater,
Exactly.
and so that it becomes part of what
Yeah.
they are love as they're growing up, and then
Yes.
they can grow up with the Granite Theater.
And there are so many things about being in theater that even if kids don't go into theater, it helps. It helps with public speaking. It helps with social interaction.
Teaches them.
Yeah, theater is so important. And I personally want to make sure that every child that walks into the Granite Theater has a good experience with it. So
That's our goal.
I can speak as a parent. My daughter was involved in theater in college at the University of Pittsburgh, and one of her most important people that she ever met in theater was through the University of Pittsburgh, and that was August Wilson,
Wow.
who was used to come as a guest to her play. I guess her play class. That the teacher was a personal friend of August Wilson. Of course, he is completely associated with the city of Pittsburgh and that
Yeah.
particular section of town. So yes, and did she become an actress? She did not. She's a social worker. But with those years spent engaged in theater,
She'll never forget about that.
absolutely,
Yes.
and it makes you talk. So that as a social worker, she can pick up on her experiences.
It has an impact on you.
Yes.
For the
It
rest
really
of your
does.
life. It does.
Definitely. So the rest of the ones are
Drowsy Chaperone, a musical comedy, extreme musical comedy. Be prepared to slap your knee. Then then Harvey, which is also a comedy, farcical, super fun. Sleuth, which is a murder mystery thriller. And then 1940s radio Christmas carol.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you very much for coming. We want to impress upon everyone, get out to that Granite Theater. There's a play for everyone, and there's only a few tickets left for the current one.
Yes.
So you need to get online and see and take a look and see what's
Miracle
available.
on 34th Street, and we have a local girl from this town that's in it.
Very good, wonderful. I want to thank you for joining us today. Also, I want to let you know that this studio, which is a nonprofit, SCC-TV, we are having a, I guess you call it a fundraiser, but really it's just kind of fun. It's an art show we're going to have on December 14th from 5 to 7 p.m. The people who run the studio bring in the most fantastic food imaginable. There's always a little wine. And we're going to have, as always, we're going to be represented by local artists, and we have a whole bunch of local artists, and we're looking for, we're looking, if you are an artist out there, for some of the things that are less expensive than some of the others. We've had exhibits here where where it was at least four numbers, and we're looking for a little bit less. Things are a little tight, maybe, but we want you to come out. And it'll be a grand time. The only other thing I'd want to say right now is that I do have a creative writing class. It's completely free at the Pawcatuck Neighborhood Center at 11 o'clock on Wednesdays. We welcome everybody. We love to hear from people. I give you little projects. Some of my students absolutely don't listen to a thing I say, but many of them do and find it just a fun experience. It's just like a hoot kind of thing. So come to creative writing. Absolutely come to the Granite, and please come here for our art show in December. Thank you very much. Enjoy.